we have problems every year at some of our schools with pickup and drop-off lines. And the way to pick on, drop off a child is very carefully thought out with our police department representatives and our school administrators working together, and it seems on paper to be a perfect plan, but we have too many parents who are in too much of a hurry and completely disregard the rules, the responsibilities. So the thought process is, if we had a way to better integrate the volunteer desires and commitments of our residents to participate in a way to communicate and educate some of the public safety incentives that we've worked hard on, that we might be very effective in that respect. So we continue to work toward maybe establishing a group in that respect.
How might we go about accomplishing that? Because I do think that involving the parents, especially in a case like that, is most important, because they'll talk to their friends and other parents.
Exactly. Well, that's the thought process. It's then really in some part a function of getting school back in session. In our efforts to put together a commission of this sort, we really need some of the administrators of the school to participate with us in the brainstorming of how to best do that. And what we have found out that getting back into school, probably not on August 24th, but maybe a week or so into it, we might then have the administrators' ears and some time that they could help us structure a commission, a group of volunteers that might best affect that educational process.
One of your first points was, I believe, related to the involvement of citizens, and that it seemed better to focus on your professionals, our elected officials, to kind of spearhead that effort. But based on everything that you had to say there, it seems like there's a lot to do related to safety. It wasn't a quick response. Like, there are a whole bunch of agenda items that maybe a specific committee might be able to push that effort and focus solely on all those items, group them together and say, here are all the things that we can do, education, and everything throughout the community. So maybe there are a lot, and it wouldn't necessarily be a waste of time for the people involved.
Oh, you know what? Once we put a commission together, we certainly would absolutely draw steel lines so that if there was an idea that wasn't completely appropriate to put forth for that commission and have them brainstorm and help us think through, we would absolutely do that. My comment really goes to part of the thought process that was expressed is, we have lots of folks who are experienced engineers, some may be traffic consultants, some may be designers, and we have lots of smart people and lots of people who are willing to volunteer and help in our community, which is a wonderful thing. They, as we can all imagine, may not always agree with respect to best practices and the like, and that's where we really, as a village, I think appropriately rely on the professional staff that we've hired to represent us, to work for us, and to the extent that our own professional staff does not have the answers and the education or the experience, they then seek the consensus of our village board to seek a professional and outside third-party opinion, because that then gives everyone the professional direction needed and the opportunity for our staff to then implement policy decisions and whatever the safety-related decisions of that professional may be.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
A couple more points. While we were driving over here, safety is a topic of concern in our family. And we noticed once we entered downtown the Grange, specifically 6th Avenue and Cossett, all of a sudden there were painted crosswalks, but we didn't see any elsewhere between 47th and Cossett. Is there a reason why we don't paint crosswalks throughout the city? Like at every intersection, it isn't something that we feel we need to do, or is it cost prohibitive, or is it just something we don't do?
I'm going to turn that over to Bob, because there's a timetable and some specifics involved.
Really, the reason why is that to go ahead and put crosswalks at every particular intersection really begins to lessen the impact of what that pedestrian access point is for. So what you start off with are curb cuts that provide the physical means by which residents and pedestrians can access one side of the street to the other. You then go to the next level, which is to identify crosswalks. You'll see parallel bars. Those parallel bars generally signify a suggested route in which pedestrians would be channeled to something like a signalized intersection. That's why, for example, we striped crosswalks throughout the 47th Street corridor to encourage people to go to designated locations such as the crosswalk on 9th, the traffic signal at 47th Street and the like, as opposed to running them parallel or perpendicular to 47th Street all the way along. Otherwise, you just see rows upon rows of striping, which would be A, sending mixed signals to drivers, and B, would just have a numbing effect to the point of being irrelevant. And thirdly, the most heightened level of crosswalk striping that we do is both the parallel bars and the perpendicular bars within those, and those are identified for major crossing, pedestrian crossing points, and you'll see that at our major intersections through the downtown and the like.
As a pedestrian and a driver, and this is solely my opinion, but when I do see those crosswalks, it does make me think. So I understand that you say it may have a numbing effect, but I think at the same time it could make someone aware that this is a place that people might cross.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, the curb cuts that we're putting on 47th, it's great. It gives direct pedestrian access, but it also tells a pedestrian that it's okay to cross there. Might help to consider putting in painted stripes too, just something for consideration. And then one last one, leave you alone. I visited 47th where I lost my wife about a half a dozen times over the last few weeks, and not every time, but on occasion, there's a signal meter that tells drivers how fast they're going, and in 3 instances, someone was going 46, 49, and 51. And each time that I'm out there, I haven't seen any increased enforcement of speed in that area. No, I've only visited the area for 10-15 minutes at a time. But it's also surprising to see people going that fast in the 10-15 minutes that I'm there. Are we doing anything in regards to enforcement throughout the city? More than we were doing before this had happened.
Yeah, and we can go into specifics. The simple answer is yes. But unfortunately, each of us can find examples, and most unfortunately probably every day, where we see people either exceeding the speed limit, driving through a stop sign, doing something else that is disrespectful of so many safety and traffic requirements that we should all be respecting each day. We have continued to make enforcement a priority of our police department. Mr. Blumchen and Mr. Holland have talked about this on many, many occasions, and Mr. Holland directs his staff accordingly, that we are out throughout our community on 47th, on Ogden, on the Grange Road, and throughout our community enforcing the law. Unfortunately, unless we had a squad parked at every corner all day long, every day of the week, we won't get everyone that violates the law.
Yeah,
and we see that, unfortunately, all of us too often.
I only brought that point up because I did see that, but I didn't see any increased enforcement in the area. So I see speeders, but no police cars.
They're out there. I really can't. I know it's not satisfying, but I know the directive has been given. I know they're out there. I've talked to the chief. I've talked to our police officers. I do see them out and about. Not necessarily, certainly not every time I'm on 47th, whether with my dog or in a car, and not every time I'm on Ogden or LaGrange or my own block on Loyola or wherever. We have continued the directive to our police department that traffic safety and enforcement is an absolute priority for our community, and our officers, I know, because of their work ethic and their responsibility to our community, are out doing what we've asked them to do. We just don't see them every time each and every one of us is out.